Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're working on the Tote to Go free pattern by Ellie and Mac. I am going on a trip. Last week we made a cover-up, beach cover-up. This week we're going to make a tote. I've got some quilted fabric that I'm using. I'm going to show you. Actually, I bought this comforter at a thrift store a while back, and I love the design on it, but I never use it on my bed because I have another comforter that I like. So then I ended up making a jacket, which I should show you. I'll show you in a minute. And then I figured I'll go ahead and make a tote with the rest of it because it's a king size, I think. So I had a lot of fabric from it. So this tote, it's meant to be lined, but I'm not lining it. And it also has a zipper pocket, but we're not doing the zipper pocket today because I'm just going to do a quick, really simple tote to go thing, so I'm going to show you how you can do it without the lining, which means I'm going to use bias tape and sew that on. Now if you want to do the zipper option and the lining and all that stuff, I did do a full tutorial on the Ellie and Mac YouTube channel for that, so you can go check them out. But let me show you my quilted jacket and then we'll get started. All right, here's my jacket. I think it's super cute. This is the floral jacket, not a free pattern, but I will add the information on the information box below in case you want to go grab it and sew it up. It is really cute. So let's go cut up this, well, I'm gonna go cut up this fabric and we're gonna get started. All right, we're gonna get started. I have all my pieces. I've just got two of the main because I'm not lining it. I've got a pocket for the inside and I've got the two straps. Now they are supposed to be like folded in themselves, but they might be too thick because this is a quilted fabric. So I may just fold the edges in, which means that I only need like half the strap instead of needing both straps. So we'll see. We'll see when we get to that part. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and prep our pocket. We're gonna do so by serging around the pocket. Now I feel like I did cut this up a little crooked, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna be on the inside. But we're going to finish off those raw edges so they're not gonna come unraveled. Then I'm gonna fold down this top a ½ inch down and top stitch. And then I'm gonna fold down the insides 3/8 of an inch and top stitch this way. So inside, bottom, and over. So I'll go ahead and do all that. I really could just bind off all the way around with binding like I'm doing the bag and not even have to worry about serging the edge or folding over and top stitching, but I don't know that I have enough binding, so I want to make sure that I have enough binding for the bag, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Also, you can totally do this just on your sewing machine if you don't have a serger. What I would do is I would just zigzag stitch the raw edge or do a fold over 1/4 inch and then fold over again to create this casing. Not casing, to top stitch this down. Now you don't have to top stitch the sides and the bottom yet because you're gonna be top stitching them to the bag, but because this is a quilt and it's so thick, it keeps on folding. So me steaming it and then stitching it to the bag is a little bit harder, so I am top stitching this down first. All right, so now I'm gonna grab one of these panels, and there is a marking on your pattern piece where you're going to place your pocket. As you can see here, my pocket, I did top stitch it all the way around because of the fact that it's this quilting fabric. So I wanted to make sure that it would stay nicely. It's a little crooked, but I'm not a perfectionist, and this is gonna be on the inside, so I'll be okay. Comment below and let me know if this drives you a little bit wonky when you see my fabric be crooked like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch here along these edges, the bottom and the top. This is why you didn't have to top stitch that down first. You could have just folded it down and then and steam it and then come over here and top stitch it down. But like I said, it's hard to keep this thick fabric folded, so I gave it like a top stitching so it would be like a basting stitch, so it would stay folded when I'm sewing it. Now you can also separate the pocket, so like do a seam down the middle. It's up to you how you want to do that. The reason why we do lining for this too is because then you would do this on the lining and then you wouldn't see any sewing marks on this side. But it doesn't really matter to me because of the fact that I already have quilting lines on it. So it's okay that I'm gonna have a line for my pocket on here. If you don't want that to show on the outside, doing a lining might be the option for you, or you can hand stitch it on in a way that you don't see it on the other side. But I'm gonna be fine seeing it on the other side, or you don't even have to do a pocket at all. I'm gonna do a line like somewhere around here. You place your phone there. I think that's a good idea, to place your phone there to see how wide your phone is, and then it'll just be like a phone pocket, so then your phone doesn't fall over. It's just kind of standing there nicely. So let's go top stitch that down. Make sure to back stitch at the beginning and at the end to reinforce that stitch. All right, you can't even see the lines very much, but another way to avoid that is if you wanted the pocket to be on the outside, then you would have a pocket here and then you wouldn't worry about those lines. But again, I wasn't worried, and also my pocket was kind of crooked, so on the inside it's just fine. Now what we're going to do is we're gonna work on our straps. I'm gonna put that aside, and here's my strap, and I think I am gonna go ahead and just sew it right sides together and then turn it over. It's gonna be double thick, but I think you'll be fine, hopefully. Or I could have used a contrasting fabric, but I think this will be good. So what we're doing is we're folding these straps right sides together and sewing the outer raw edge. If you're using like a quilting cotton, it is recommended that you use like an interfacing with it, so that way it will have some be more sturdy when you're actually carrying your bag, especially because this is a big bag and you're gonna put a bunch of stuff in it, you don't want it to break. So we're gonna sew this up and then turn it. All right, now that these have been sewn, I'm gonna go ahead and turn them inside out. Turn them right side out. I said inside out. I meant right side out. All right, after you turn this whole thing right side out, you're gonna give it a good steam, because then we're gonna go ahead and attach it to the outside of our bag. All right, so now we're gonna grab our front pieces, and I just noticed one thing that I'm like a little bit like about. It doesn't really matter because the pocket is huge, so you may have to make the pocket smaller. When I go to this place the straps, there's like a little notch where the strap is gonna go, and it's gonna go around and come back around and come down to the other notch, like so, on the right side. But as you can see here, it's gonna catch my pocket, which means that it's gonna be sewn down, so I'll only be able to use this part of my pocket, just this area, not all the way out, which is fine with me because there's not that much pocket. So when I make it next time, if I'm not gonna line it, I'll make my pocket smaller, or I could again put my pocket on the outside if I wanted to do that and make it smaller, so fit between the two straps. Okay, so saying that, I'm still gonna go ahead and attach the straps. I'm gonna attach the straps with the wrong side against the right side, and I'm gonna match up. There's some little notches here, and we're gonna match up the notches, and I'm gonna attach it, leaving a gap here, like an inch gap, so that way I can go ahead and do my my binding there at the top, and then when we're done doing the binding, then we'll secure it here at the top. So I'm gonna go, and how I'm gonna attach this straps is a stitch on the outer edge, stop an inch away from the top, and then go back and do an inch on the other, a top stitch on the other side. And I'm gonna do this for both sides. So one strap is gonna go from the bottom up, make sure it's not crooked, and it's gonna come all the way down to the bottom here. And what you can do is, if you want to give them like a top stitch look, which I might do that for this one, because these straps, because of the fact that they're quilted, they're kind of flimsy. I'm going to probably, once I go ahead and top stitch down, I'll just go through and top stitch both sides of the strap the rest of the way, so it has that top stitched look. So I'm going all the way up, and then I'm gonna do the same on the other side. All right, let's go top stitch. I realized I didn't show you, but you couldn't see it, but here's the notches here at the bottom. And you match up those notches and go all the way up and all the way around. All right, I'm gonna do the same exact thing to the other side of the bag. Alrighty, this is coming together. It's gonna be a huge, beautiful bag. I'm so excited, it's looking so good. So the pocket, the straps came like to right here on the pocket. So I can't use all these sides. I can probably put some pens in here or stuff like that, but that's okay because this pocket is big enough to put other stuff on there. So it will be good. Now I'm going to face my front and back right sides together. And we're gonna sew up our side seams and our bottom seam, right sides together. Make sure you match those straps here so that they come together here at the bottom. I'm gonna sew them with my sewing machine first, and then I'm gonna do my serger. And now you can make up your mind if you want to use some binding here at the bottom to like finish off this raw edge, since I'm not lining it. If I'm not lining it, I may want to use some binding to cover up the stitching here so you can't see any like, you know, seam allowances on the inside. Or if it doesn't bother you and you don't care to see the seam allowances, you don't mind, then it won't be that big of a deal if you just leave it. Okay, let's go sew that up. Here at the strap, I'm gonna go back over it so it's reinforced. All right, now I'm gonna go on my sewing machine and finish off that raw edge. And I'm gonna be very careful here where the straps are because they're really, really thick. This fabric tried to go around, so I'm gonna kind of knock it out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of the thread. There we go. When you're doing something so thick, you need to be careful because you don't want to jam your machine. All right, I'm gonna do the other sides. Alrighty, now one thing is these straps are so thick here because of the fact that I use that quilting material for both sides. So I am not going to do any binding over these straps. So the bottom of my bag, see, I took it really slow with my serger too. I did like a row and then I did, because I don't want to ruin my machines. So binding, I'm just gonna do binding for the top, but you can do binding for the line, for the inside as well. I may do binding on the sides if I feel like it once I get it all done. But I'm gonna show you how to do binding on the outer edge, and you can do the same thing for all the seams if you wanted to do binding. Anyway, before we move on to that, we're gonna close off the bottom of our bag, and our bag will basically be done except for finishing off the top edge. And then, you know, if you want to add binding, you can add binding. But again, I am not adding binding to the inside because of the fact that it's so thick, such thick fabric, and I don't have an industrial machine. I just have a regular at-home machine, so I don't want to, I already kind of jammed my machine a little bit trying to go through the straps, so I'm like, now I'm like nervous. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to break my machine, so we're just gonna go with the no binding on the inside. It will be fine. And honestly, some people do binding by hand where they just stitch it, and I'm not that kind of people. So we're gonna go ahead, and our bag is almost done. We just have to sew up those sides, the sides where the rabbit tied together, and sew them. And then on the top is where we're going to add our binding, and this is how we're going to do it. I'm gonna start at any place. So we're gonna start here at this seam right here, and I'm gonna grab my binding and I'm gonna open it up, and the shorter part of the binding, I'm gonna place that right sides together with my bag. I'm gonna go all the way around and top stitch on that first crease. This is the reason why we left that inch gap here. If you were doing the lining, you would do the same exact steps for the lining, except for obviously the straps. And then you would fit the lining inside the bag and you would sew up close here at the top, you would sew them together. But since I'm not doing the lining, I have to have a way to finish this raw edge. So binding is a great way of doing that. And so leaving this little gap here works really well, because then we'll top stitch it when we're done. You're gonna meet your binding here. I just usually sew a straight stitch. I know that's not how you're supposed to do the binding, but I just sew it straight. But you can, you know, sew it together, and then you're gonna enclose it. I'll open these up and then we'll flip it over. All right, now we're gonna go all the way around. All right, I'm gonna go over to my serger and finish this off. But here at the top, I'm going to fold this binding. Now I'm gonna flip it over and make it go right over that seam allowance, like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch it. Now, some people like to do it from the back. Some people like to put this in the front, so that like make it wrong sides together and go to the front. Because now sewing this up, you do wanna sew it from the front, but if you had it the other way, you'll be able to see where you're sewing. I just kind of go right kind of next to the seam and go there and sew it. So let's top stitch it all the way around. Okay, so this is what the one side looks like, and the other side is top stitched. And now the last thing to do is to go back to the strap here, and you're gonna do like a little square where you're going to top stitch this down to the top of the strap. And you wanna do a little square because that will give it more reinforcement. So we go down slowly, because it's kind of thick on mine now because of the fact that I have this quilt. Hope you can see it. And then we're gonna go to the corner. And then turn back down. And then turn back over to the other corner. And then turn, so straight. Ooh, destroying everything around here. To close up the square. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And after I do that, I'm gonna do that to all four sides. Well, those were my bobbins. They just went flying. I'm gonna do that to all four sides, all four straps. See the little square with the triangle, the cross, the X inside of it? I'm gonna do that to all four squares, and then I'm gonna go all the way around and top stitch the rest of my strap. So it still looks all top stitched all the way around. And that's about it. All right, friends, we are done with this bag. I put my quilted jacket in there to give it a little bit of bulk, but look, it's huge. You can fit so much in there. This big inside pocket in there. You can do the same thing on the outside and put a pocket on the outside if you want, or there's also an option for a zipper pocket on that tutorial, on this where you get this bag and this pattern. I couldn't think of the word. But I think it turned out so good. I love the quilted pattern on the bag. You can turn this sides in, and if you wanted to, you could turn those sides in and kind of like do add like a clasp here that it would close up, and it would be like a smaller bag. But if you pull this sides out, it is a huge, very nice bag. I love it, and this quilted was perfect for it. Now I can still see my seams on the inside because I did not cover them with binding, but if you wanted to, you could cover them with the same binding style that I did, but it doesn't bother me. I could have even used a thread that was closer to the color of the inside. Whatever. I think it's still super cute. I love it. It looks so good. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please come and like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Come find me on Instagram at Ezra, where I show a lot of behind the scenes and stuff like that. And yeah, comment below and let me know what you think. See you next time. Bye.